morning, you're watching A News. I'm Lee Brown. Here are the top stories. Trump's ally and US conservative activist Charlie Kirk dies after being shot at a university event in Utah. Poland activates NATO's Treaty Article 4 to consult allies after Russia's drone incursion. And France hit by nationwide protests and disruption as new Prime Minister takes office. Conservative commentator and Trump ally Charlie Kirk was shot and killed on Wednesday while speaking at Utah Valley University. Witnesses reported chaotic scenes as emergency crews rushed to the scene. Authorities say an investigation is underway with a manhunt for the gunman still ongoing. The attack has already drawn reactions from major political leaders.
Panic erupted at Utah Valley University on Wednesday, 10th September, when a single gunshot turned a public speaking event into a scene of horror. 31-year-old Charlie Kirk, a conservative commentator and one of President Donald Trump's closest allies, was struck fatally in the neck while addressing students.
Oh my God.
The Utah event was the opening night of Kirk's American Comeback Tour, a 15-campus series designed to spark debate among young Americans. At Utah Valley University, however, it became his final appearance.
So I was about 15 to 20 feet away from him, standing kind of towards the right direction of the booth where Charlie was. Basically, I just heard a shot, and I saw him falling towards the left, so I knew he got shot on the collarbone or the neck right here, but I didn't see bleed immediately. I just saw and I heard, and we all crouched down. Everybody was crouching down for a good 5 seconds.
It's traumatizing for the students. When I saw students running off from the campus over the bridge there, a lot of them were crying. It was traumatizing for everyone, and now the campus is closed.
Kirk was rushed from the scene as terrified spectators ducked for cover. Some even jumped into a fountain. Emergency crews and SWAT teams responded quickly. President Donald Trump also spoke out about political divisions in the country that have fueled violence.
Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy, justice, and the American people. He's a martyr for truth and freedom, and there has never been anyone who was so respected by youth. My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement officials, and everyone else who brings order to our country.
Former Presidents Barack Obama and Joe Biden, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and international leaders also condemned the attack. Charlie Kirk was a polarizing figure. On campuses and across social media, he divided opinion sharply. To supporters, he was a fearless defender of free speech, conservative values, and Donald Trump's vision for America. To critics, he was a provocateur, accused of fueling division and promoting a confrontational political agenda. Kirk rose from a suburban Chicago childhood to become founder of Turning Point USA, a conservative youth movement that reshaped campus politics and played a key role in Trump's 2024 election campaign.
Moving to Europe now, on Wednesday, Poland invoked Article 4 of NATO's treaty after suspected Russian drones entered its airspace, calling it a, quote, large-scale provocation. The move has prompted swift offers of support from European allies to boost Warsaw's air defences.
Poland has called this week's incursion by suspected Russian drones a large-scale provocation and activated Article 4 of NATO's treaty, under which allies hold emergency consultations. Prime Minister Donald Tusk said he received offers of air defence support from France, Germany, the UK, Italy, the Netherlands, Ukraine and NATO leadership. The incident marks the first known time a NATO member has fired in response to Russia's war in Ukraine.
We have a full-scale war beyond our Ukrainian-Russian border, but we already have something that goes beyond the bounds of mere provocations in our own skies. And perhaps today we need to say it again very loudly and clearly. Poland today has a political enemy who does not conceal his hostile intentions beyond its eastern border.
Moscow denied responsibility. A senior diplomat in Poland said the drones came from the direction of Ukraine, while Russia's defense ministry said they targeted military sites in western Ukraine, not Poland. NATO and European leaders condemned the breach, with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz calling it part of a long series of Russian provocations. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky described the incursion as deliberate.
Від першої години ночі наші військові фіксували рух.
From the first hour of the night, our military recorded Russian drones moving toward the Polish border. And this movement was not an accident or mistake, but deliberate movement. The Russians used both our territory and Belarusian territory to push them into Polish airspace. Almost 24 drones entered Poland, and from the Ukrainian side they appear to have directed less than half of the total number. This was a calculated Russian activity. And we can see the result, how difficult it was to deal with.
Прорахована російська активність. І ми бачимо, яка ситуація у підсумку.
Poland's armed forces scrambled fighter jets from Poland, the Netherlands and Italy, along with NATO AWACS and refuelling aircraft, to intercept the drones. Several airports, including Rzeszów, a key supply hub for Ukraine, were temporarily closed. In the eastern village of Wyriki Wola, pensioner Tomasz Wesolowski was downstairs watching TV when a drone crashed into the roof of his house, destroying it and scattering debris across the garden.
I turned on the TV and all the news was about this massive drone flight, and after a while I heard a plane flying over, and suddenly it seemed to descend more rapidly and the roar grew louder, and suddenly something boomed. The light fell from the ceiling in the downstairs living room. I looked out the window and there were sheets of metal flying from the roof.
Neighbours also described shock and fear.
And suddenly I heard what sounded like an explosion. I jumped up and my legs started shaking. I started looking because I heard a plane flying overhead. I couldn't identify it, or rather, locate it. So I went out onto the upstairs balcony and saw it was flying towards Ladawa.
Residents say the attack has revived memories of past wars and left many anxious about the future. As of now, officials are coordinating with European allies to strengthen air defences along the border, and NATO continues its investigation into the incursion. The incident is considered the most serious violation of NATO airspace since Russia's war in Ukraine began.
European cooperation following the incident, Britain's Defence Minister John Healey says the armed forces are reviewing options to strengthen NATO's air defences in Poland. After a meeting with defence officials from France, Germany, Italy, Poland and Ukraine in London, Healey said that Britain, as a NATO ally, will play its part to help secure the safety of Poland. Earlier in the day, he called the violation of Polish and NATO airspace by Russian drones, quote, reckless, unprecedented and dangerous. Now, chaos continues to sweep across France on Wednesday as thousands of protesters take to the streets in the Block Everything movement, clashing with police and causing major disruption in Paris. French Interior Minister said authorities had successfully prevented the country from being paralysed.
Hundreds of protesters were arrested across France as thousands took to the streets under the slogan "Block Everything," a protest movement that began online calling for nationwide disruption against government policies.
I'm here because this illegitimate government must be blocked. We don't want a war market. We don't want austerity. We want money for public services. We want money for schools, for hospitals.
The protests across France are driven by opposition to austerity, public spending cuts, Bayrou's collapse budget plan, Macron's economic policies, rising defence spending, and calls from unions and left-wing activists for more funding for public services, schools and hospitals.
It's the same. It's Macron who's the problem, not the ministers. He has to go. He has to think about it seriously.
According to the Ministry of the Interior, 200,000 people participated in the protests across France, while labour unions estimated the number at over 250,000. By 6 p.m. on Wednesday, authorities had recorded 812 incidents, comprising 550 gatherings and around 262 blockades across Paris, Rennes, Nantes, Grenoble, Lyon, Lille, Caen and Toulouse. French Interior Minister Bruno Retailleau, speaking after a meeting to assess the day of protests, noting that the Block Everything protests had failed to bring the country to a standstill.
What are the major lessons to be learned from this very, very long day? It began at dawn and once again it continues. First, perhaps the thwarting of those who wanted to blockade the country. Well, we thwarted that strategy and France was not blocked by the blockaders. Meanwhile, authorities deployed over 80,000 security personnel nationwide, dismantling barricades and controlling unrest as tensions rose in multiple areas.
Looking to the Middle East now, where at least 35 people were killed and another 131 injured in Israeli strikes on Yemen, according to the country's health ministry. The Israeli military said the fresh strikes targeted military camps of Houthi operatives, while the Yemeni armed forces stated they managed to stop a large part of the Israeli attack with air defences. The attacks come a day after the Israeli army said it had intercepted a rocket launch from Yemen, which in turn came hours after the Israeli bombed Doha in an attempt to assassinate high-ranking Hamas officials. Staying with Israel, military reservists and families of hostages marched on Wednesday to the military headquarters in Tel Aviv following an Israeli airstrike targeting Hamas officials in Qatar. Protesters are demanding the release of hostages still held in Gaza and an end to the war. Families have stepped up their campaign as Israel pushes ahead with plans to take full control of the Strip, while ceasefire talks remain stalled. Campaigners want a diplomatic deal to free the remaining 48 captives. Israeli officials believe 20 are still alive. Prime Minister Netanyahu insists on an, quote, all-or-nothing agreement requiring all hostages released at once and Hamas to surrender. Now, Qatar's Prime Minister Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman bin Jassim Al Thani told CNN that Israel's strike in Doha was an act of, quote, state terror. He said Netanyahu, quote, killed any hope for those hostages held in Gaza. The attack on Tuesday claimed the lives of 6 Hamas officials who were negotiating a US-backed ceasefire. Al-Thani warned Qatar may reconsider its role as a mediator. Netanyahu defended the strike, accusing Qatar of harboring terrorists and hinting at future action.
At noon today, I convened the heads of Israel.
Staying in the Gulf, the president of the UAE is in Qatar for an unscheduled visit in a show of regional solidarity with Doha, following Tuesday's Israeli strikes on the Qatari capital. Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan was welcomed by Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. Local media reports that Abu Dhabi reaffirmed its solidarity with Qatar and support for its sovereignty and territorial integrity. The UAE condemned the Israeli strike as a criminal act. More visits to Doha are expected, including the crown princes of Saudi Arabia and Jordan. Now, Pakistan declared a climate and agricultural emergency as weeks of monsoon flooding swept through multiple provinces. The floods have threatened major crops and forced mass rescues in the largest city, Karachi. The death toll from rain-related incidents in the city rose to 6.
Karachi, the largest city of Pakistan and the country's financial hub, is now being tested by the monsoon season. The city was lashed by heavy downpours as the second wave of monsoon rains hit, with Sajani town receiving the highest rainfall, 129.8 millimetres over the past 24 hours. Layari and Malir rivers serve as Karachi's main storm drains, channeling rainwater through a network of nullahs into the Arabian Sea. The death toll from rain-related incidents in Karachi rose to 6 on Wednesday. Most of the deaths occurred due to collapsing structures, drowning and electrocution during the 3 days of rain, according to hospital officials. Residents in Karachi said they were worried about the flooding in the country as the ongoing monsoon brought about heavy rains and inundated city roads.
It has been raining since last night and all the dams are full. Now the water is coming into our town. There is water everywhere and people are suffering. It's still pouring heavily and the whole area looks flooded.
It has been raining heavily here for the past 3 days, and since last night it hasn't stopped at all. The roads are flooded because the dams are overflowing. It's a worrying situation, not just for the people here, but also for the government and the entire country. People are suffering losses because they can't move around, and many are also facing problems with their jobs. Everyone is very worried.
Rescue operations continued throughout the night to move rain-affected individuals to safe locations. Rescue teams, in coordination with district administration, successfully relocated over 350 citizens to safer areas.
Moving to Afghanistan, where the UN has launched a 4-month emergency response plan worth $140 million to assist nearly 500,000 people affected by the recent devastating earthquake. Artamim Bahis has more on that in Kabul.
The earthquake struck Kunar, Laghman and Nangarhar provinces with a magnitude above 6, followed by 3 strong aftershocks. More than 2,200 people lost their lives and around 3,600 were injured. Over 6,700 homes were either destroyed or damaged, leaving thousands of families displaced in unsafe and makeshift shelters. Many households also lost their food supplies and now face limited access to clean water, health services and sanitation. Schools, clinics and essential infrastructure were also badly affected. The United Nations emergency plan aims to reach 457,000 people by the end of the year. Relief operations have already begun, with humanitarian organizations and local authorities delivering food, tents, blankets, warm clothing and clean water. Mobile health and nutrition teams are being deployed along with medical supplies to the worst hit areas. Humanitarian partners are focusing on the needs of vulnerable groups, including women and children, while also preparing communities in high altitude areas for the winter season. The plan includes a shelter support, water and sanitation, food assistance, protection services, education, and agriculture and livestock aid to help safeguard lives and livelihoods. The United Nations is calling for urgent international support to ensure families impacted by the earthquake receives life-saving assistance before winter sets in. Tamim Bahis reporting for A News from Kabul, Afghanistan.
To regional breakthroughs, Turkey has been named as the global leader in crypto ownership for the 3rd year in a row. According to a report by We Are Social and Meltwater, 1 in 4 Turks owns or has traded cryptocurrencies. Finance professionals, tech workers and students make up the bulk of crypto users. Unexpectedly, retirees over 60 now account for about 12% of investors. Turkey is followed by Brazil, South Africa, Nigeria, and countries with similarly large informal economies. Now, Georgia's upcoming October 4th local elections will take place without international observers from the OSCE. The organisation says the Georgian government's last-minute invitation made, quote, effective observation impossible. Our correspondent reports from the capital.
The OSCE Office for Democratic Institutions and Human Rights, the main European election observation body, explained that a credible mission requires early preparation and access to all stages of the electoral process. With the Georgian government's invitation arriving less than a month before election day, the office announced it will not deploy observers. This setback comes against the backdrop of growing political tensions in Georgia. Just days ago, the Ministry of Internal Affairs expanded its investigation into a violent confrontation outside the headquarters of ruling party figure Ahak Aladze. The case now includes charges of violence during pre-election agitation. Opposition voices warn of deeper risks. Lelo's Strong Georgia leader Taza Datunashvili compared the current climate to the early 1990s, accusing the ruling party of staging civil conflict and dehumanizing opponents. Former President Salome Zurabishvili, speaking from Washington, dismissed the October 4 vote as nothing more than a simulation of elections, criticizing the opposition's divisions over whether to participate or not. With the OSCE now stepping back, Georgia faces its October 4 elections under greater scrutiny than ever, both from its own citizens and from the international community. It's Nini Nikolaishvili reporting from Tbilisi, A News.
To international diplomacy, Armenia's Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan is expected to visit Moscow at the end of the month for the World Atomic Week. Local media are reporting that he may also hold a meeting with Russia's Vladimir Putin. Officials in Yerevan said details of Pashinyan's trips will be announced at a later date, as the Moscow gathering prepares to bring together leaders from countries advancing their nuclear programs. Now, the second day of the 13th CICA think tank forum in Baku focused on the organization's transformation and capacity building, with delegates sharing their insights and recommendations.
The second day of the 13th meeting of the think tank forum of the Conference on Interaction and Confidence Building Measures in Asia took place today in Baku, bringing together experts, officials and delegates from across Asia to finalize discussions from the 2 days. The focus was on CICA's transformation and capacity building. Panelists and analysts presented proposals on a wide range of issues, including increasing public awareness of CICA, deepening political dialogue, promoting peace in conflict-affected countries, and advancing mutual benefits among member states. Other key topics included food insecurity, climate change, secure safety networks, and cultural cohesion. The sessions concluded with an open discussion, allowing delegates to exchange questions and insights. In his remarks, Kairat Saribay, CICA Secretary-General, highlighted ongoing priorities such as terrorism, environmental challenges, ICTs, youth engagement, and the role of women, emphasizing that CICA remains a people-to-people organization with a soft power approach. The closing ceremony, moderated by Farid Shafiev, chairman of the board of the Center for Analysis of International Relations, finalized key outcomes of the forum. Shafiev underlined Azerbaijan's commitment to the forum and the importance it places on fostering regional cooperation, with the participants expressing optimism about CICA's growing impact in Asia.
And this is the first time for CICA TTF to be holding outside of China, so for me it's a great honor to be here. I find this think tank forum and also the CICA as a whole a very comprehensive and very innovative and very effective mechanism.
I think the 13th CICA think tank forum is an important platform to discuss the potential of CICA in fostering regional cooperation among the Asian countries. As you know that the world is facing a lot of geopolitical uncertainty in the last few years, and there is tension at the individual country level, and all the regional institutions are working towards restoring peace, stability in the region, and also reviving the multilateral processes and institutions.
Following the ceremony, a side event titled The Shaping of a New Asian Order explored youth and women empowerment in CICA's transformation, featuring young speakers from different countries. Overall, the forum underscored regional cooperation, dialogue and inclusive development as central to CICA's ongoing evolution.
Turning to diplomacy in Central Asia, as the President of Finland, Alexander Stubb, is set to visit Tashkent for talks aimed at deepening political and economic cooperation, as Uzbekistan steps up engagement with Europe. Our Seville Rajapova has the details.
Finnish President Alexander Stubb will pay an official visit to Uzbekistan, following a telephone conversation with President Shavkat Mirziyoyev. The two leaders discussed trade, economic cooperation, humanitarian projects and preparations for the visit, highlighting the positive momentum in political dialogue and interparliamentary exchange. Since 2022, the Finnish Nordic University has been operating in Uzbekistan, alongside joint projects in school education. The leaders also pointed to new opportunities in agriculture, chemicals, energy, mining, telecommunications and education technology. An intergovernmental commission meeting and a business forum will be held to ensure practical results. The visit takes place as Uzbekistan strengthens its ties with Europe. This October, Uzbekistan and the European Union are set to sign enhanced partnership and cooperation agreement in Brussels, while the European Union has already announced a $13.2 billion investment plan for Central Asia. In 2024, Uzbekistan's trade with the European Union reached about $6.4 billion, with more than 1,000 European companies active in the country. Finland's export to Uzbekistan stood at $167 million, with total trade turnover at $173 million. The upcoming visit of President Stubb is expected to give new momentum to long-term cooperation between Finland and Uzbekistan. It is Seville Rajapova reported from Tashkent, Uzbekistan, A News.
Staying with Central Asia, President of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Felix Tshisekedi, is in Kazakhstan for a state visit. Kazakh President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev hosted Tshisekedi at the presidential palace for talks on expanding economic and cooperation on international security. Our Fariza Kalimozina has more.
An official welcoming ceremony was held at Akorda for the President of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, who arrived in Kazakhstan on a state visit. For Kazakhstan, the DRC is considered a key partner on the African continent, with a population of over 110 million and significant natural and human resources. The country is becoming more active on the international stage. According to President Tokayev, expanding cooperation with African countries is now one of the priorities in Kazakhstan's foreign policy. President Tshisekedi said his visit aims not only to build bilateral relations, but also to promote stronger ties between Africa and Central Asia as a whole. A key focus is cooperation in natural resource processing. The DRC is rich in cobalt and copper, while Kazakhstan holds large uranium reserves. According to global data, the DRC accounts for 76% of the world's cobalt production and 14% of copper. Tshisekedi emphasized that both countries have a real opportunity to develop joint processing projects directly on their own soil. This, he said, could open the door to new economic growth and long-term cooperation. Despite the 8,000-kilometer distance, economic ties between Kazakhstan and the DRC are gradually developing. Diplomatic relations were officially launched in 2022. In last year, trade between the two countries reached nearly $5 million. Kazakhstan exports tools, equipment, machinery and chemical products, while importing rare metal ores, coffee, plastics and IT components from Africa. Cooperation between the two countries goes beyond just trade. In 2022, Kazakhstan sent its military personnel to the Democratic Republic of the Congo as part of a United Nations peacekeeping mission. If the two countries continue to find common ground, geography will no longer be a barrier, especially as their partnership already goes far beyond economics. From Almaty, Kazakhstan, Fariza Kalimurzyna, A News.
That's the news update from us in Baku this morning. Stay tuned to A News for more.